Most welcome, Mr. Somnath Banerjee, who is from Raheria, Kolkata, all the way from Bengal, from West Bengal, the city of our great leader Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And I welcome you, Mr. Somnath Banerjee, for a lecture on biodiversity. Biodiversity is the need of ours for the students, for the competitive examinations, and for many other examinations like Higher Education Commission, like Public Service Commission, and UPSC. And you have prepared a very good PowerPoint. I saw it today in the morning. So I welcome you, Mr. Somnath Banerjee, and I am thankful to you that you have spared a few minutes. And so now, further 30 minutes you are having to explain why the biodiversity is the need of ours and why it is actually required for every human being in this world to conserve our biodiversity, because if we live in a similar world, in a parallel world in which all the organisms look same, that is not good for the health, that is not good for the world. Biodiversity is very much needed for the existence of human being. So I welcome you once again, Mr. Somnath Banerjee, who is a very young, enthusiastic student, and eager to know, eager to deliver various things in the subject, in the life sciences, in the biological science. So I requested him to prepare a lecture in a very short period, and he could not deny. I am thankful to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Somnath. Now the 30 or 35 minutes are yours. So please go ahead. Thank you. Most welcome.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I am very grateful to Dr. Adarsh Pandey of Department of Botany, Swami Shukdevanand College. Okay, so let me start the lecture. First of all, the biological diversity. It's echoing actually. Is there any problem from that side?
No. We can see your slide, but your voice is not. Yes, we can see your slides.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, so here the biological diversity or biodiversity refers to the number and variety of life forms that we find generally in a specified geographic region. Sir, Adarsh sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, kindly, I would like to ask a favor that in some places can I use Hindi?
Yeah, sure. You know, we are Hindi
Okay,
loving
okay,
people.
sir.
In
Thank
North India, we love to speak in Hindi.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I would like to,
Okay, sir. Thank you.
if you speak in Hindi, that's more grateful for us. And in between, you can
Yes, sir.
use the English too. No problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So, as I was talking, that the biological diversity or biodiversity generally refers to the number and variety of life forms that is found within a specified geographic region. Suppose we are talking about India or any geographic region of India. Suppose say West Bengal or Uttar Pradesh or any particular like the biogeographic region of the bioflora and fauna of Delhi or Mumbai, any particular place. So that refers to the biological diversity. So next, this includes the different plants, animals, and microorganisms, and obviously the genes they contain and the ecosystem they form. Together, the plants, animals, and microorganisms, everything they make up the entire ecosystem that we live in. And this living wealth is not just a 1 day or 1 year thing. This is actually the product of millions of years of evolutionary history, as you can understand. That evolution is a widespread phenomena. It is not just a thing of 1 day or 1 week or 1 year. It can't be achieved in a short span of time. So this what we can refer to as the land biological diversity, what we can say the biodiversity. And like you we have the plants and microorganisms, various kinds of birds and marine animals, trees, algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, the animals like the tiger, and there you can see the jellyfish, the bugs, the insects. This all constitute together the entire biodiversity. The orchids, the pines, all these kinds of trees, the spiders, this all constitute the biodiversity. And when we are talking about biodiversity, we should also lay emphasis on the marine biodiversity. Like as you can see, the water creatures like the fishes here, the corals, the tortoises, the dolphins, all this constitute the marine ecosystem or biodiversity. These are some of the species that I found in some research article that generally the kind of sponges and sea snakes and the jellyfish, the alligators and special kind of dolphins or migratory birds. This is what we can refer to as the biodiversity of Indian coastline or marine biodiversity that is around the regions of marine ecosystems, and like the places like the West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and in the west side, Mumbai, Gujarat, that side. This is the diversity around their biological diversity, where we find different kind of sponges, jellyfish, various kind of alligators, migratory bird in the run of Kutch. They come every year. So this is very important. The next slide is the International Day for Biological Diversity that we would be celebrating on 22nd of May, Saturday, 2021. So this is a short information, and I feel this is a important question that could be asked for any competitive exam, be it UPSC or CSI and NET or any MSc entrance exam. Now, the International Day for Biological Diversity is celebrated each year on 22nd May. So, why do we celebrate this day? So, this is particularly a day in our calendar that is dedicated to raising global awareness about the importance of protecting biological resources and the global biodiversity that shapes our environment. So, this is basically why you could say that we celebrate the Biological Diversity Day. And the theme for the International Day for Biodiversity 2020 was that our solutions are in nature. So this was the theme for 2020 Biodiversity Day, and 2021 date is yet to come in May. So these are some small information that could be asked in the exam, entrance exams and competitive exams. So I have given this data. Now let us go a bit more detail into the subject. So let us talk about the history of biodiversity. As biodiversity is the result of 3.5 billion years of evolution. As I said, that it is not a one day or a 1 year thing. It is a result of lakhs and billions and years of evolution. The origin of life has not been definitely established by science till now. We don't actually exactly can't say that this theory is 100% correct till now. However, that some evidence suggests that life may have already been well established only a few hundred million years after the formation of Earth. And until approximately 600 million years ago, all life consisted and it used to be archaea, bacteria, protozoans, and similar single cell organelles and organisms. There were no human and animals kind of things, and plants also didn't used to exist at that time. So that time, during the primitive time of when the earth was formed, there used to be single celled organisms like archaea, bacteria, protozoans. They were dominant all over the earth. So plants were not actually formed by then. And this is another interesting information I came across, is that the biologist Dr. Edward O. Wilson is known as the father of biodiversity. So this is another interesting question which can be asked in competitive or entrance examinations. Next, let us see that what is the current status of biodiversity. So approximately you can see that there are more than 250,000 to 3 lakhs edible plant species, and animals provide around 30% of human requirements for the food and agriculture. And more than 20,000 species are used for medicinal purposes. So as you can understand that this is the current status of biodiversity of the world, where 5,490 mammals are there and 78 are extinct or extinct in the present. wild, and 188 species of mammals currently critically endangered. 540 are endangered and 492 are vulnerable. So this is the current status of biodiversity, you can say. The next is what are the challenges to biodiversity. So the major challenges are human population growth. Human population growth is a major factor. Human population is growing on a large scale, and India is a place of huge population. Then there is pollution and diseases. Pollution is also very high in Delhi and most other places. So pollution is at its peak when people set out for work in the morning. It's totally foggy and smoggy and they can't see anything. So pollution is a major criteria and a challenge for biodiversity. Then there are diseases like currently in the year 2000, from 1920 we have been coming across coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2 and various other terms and all kinds of diseases, bird flu and this that. So those are the diseases. Then there is habitat loss and degradation. So habitat loss is another major challenge to biodiversity, where people are building dams and flats and they are encroaching the land where the actually the animals and the plants, the flora and fauna reside. So humans are getting into their settlement. And next is introduction of invasive or alien species. The students must know that there are many species like Eichhornia and Parthenium. Those have been carried from outside countries and they have been introduced in our country. So these are called as alien or invasive alien species. So what they do is they dominate the area and they don't let the other plants to grow there. So this is a very important factor. Then there is over exploitation of natural resources. Humans have always been using natural resources like the coal and the water, hydroelectricity, and many other things. So there is over exploitation. Then there is global climate change. And by 2020, we all know that climate change is real because the glaciers and all the other things are going down and the water level is increasing day by day. Then there is energy crisis. So there energy crisis, by energy crisis we mean that the energy, the thermodynamic stability of the ecosystem is actually degrading day by day. And then there is international trade of game species, which means that the uh, generally important medicinal plants and the important species, rare species like pangolins and the other species that are not found there, that are traded from one place to another, one country to another, and bought at high prices in markets. So these are the major challenges to biodiversity. Next, we should know about the biodiversity status in India. What is the status in India? And India is one of the 12 mega biodiversities countries of the world, and it is estimated that around 70% of the world's total flowering plants occur in India. So you can imagine that how much important biodiversity conservation holds in India. Around 70% of the world's total flowering plants you can find in India. India gets 10th place in world and 4th in Asia among these 12 mega diversity countries. And India has 10 biogeographic zones that are the Trans-Himalayan, Himalayan, desert, semi-arid, Western Ghats, Deccan Peninsula, Gangetic Plains, coast, islands, Northeast Islands. So these are the biogeographic zones in India. And it is among top 10 to 15 national nations of the world for its great diversity of plant life, especially in flowering plants. Then India is a source of traditional crop varieties that rank first among the 12 regions of diversity crop plants and seventh in the contribution of agriculture species. As you know, that India is very much good in production of rice, wheat, sugarcane, and all these things. So India is a great source of providing traditional crop varieties in the world. Next, we can say that India is a mega diversity nation. Why? So the question arises that why we call India a mega diversity nation. Since India is having all types of climatic region, you see that Dr. Pandey was talking in the beginning of the lecture that there is cold. in Dr. Pandey's area, and in my area in West Bengal, there is also cold, but currently it is not that cold as compared to the northern parts. So in India, we have diversified climate, habitat, and regions. Somewhere there is hot, somewhere there is cold. Like in Mumbai, it is hot, but in the northern parts, it is cold climate. In the tropical parts, the climate is different. So as a result of this, the biodiversity of India is very rich. And the India holds the 10th rank among plant richness, 11th in number of endemic species of higher vertebrates, and 6th in centers of diversity and origin of food crops. And India is one of the 12 mega diversity nations, as I was talking about. And India is considered to be the origin of 5,000 species of flowering and 320 species of food plants. This data is actually increasing day by day. The more research we do, the more information we dig in, so this number is extending day by day. So we need more young minds, those who are interested in research of flora and fauna. And the marine diversity of India is still left to be unexplored, I could say. That the total diversity, marine diversity, we generally deal with the land plants and the fauna and flora that reside in the land, but uh, the work on marine diversity is limited, I could say. That it is not that much explored. So we need more marine biologists and ecologists and people who could deal with the marine habitat and the marine diversity of India. Next is India, a megadiversity nation. As we are saying that India is a megadiversity nation, India has high mountain ranges, plateaus, plains, deserts. Like similar to cultural diversity, our country has vast cultural diversity from Jammu Kashmir in north to Kanyakumari in south, and from West Bengal in east to the desert in west. So we live with various kind of people: the Hindus, the Punjabis, the South Indians, the Muslims, the Christians, the Sikhs, and the other people. So India is a biodiversity, mega diversity, and also a cultural diversity country. Next, we have is what refers to the ecosystem diversity, species diversity, and genetic diversity. So this is an important topic. First, on the base level, this you could refer to as a triangle, the primary, secondary, and tertiary ecosystem, the pyramid triangle that we study in ecology. So, at the base level, we have genes that form the constituent of the species. And after the species, like the different species, like the frogs and the snakes, the birds, the insect, the elephants, and every species together they constitute the ecosystem. They form the final and the tertiary pyramid structure. So everything is dependent on the genes here, the gene flow. And the ecosystem diversity generally refers to the diversity of a place, that the at a particular place, what is the diversity that generally referred to as the ecosystem diversity. And what refers to as the genetic diversity is the level of biodiversity that refers to the total number of genetic characters in the genetic makeup of a species. Like we study in genetics the phenotype and the genotypes, all those things. So that constitute the genetic diversity. Then there is the species diversity, that is the effective number of different species that are represented in a collection of individuals. So this is an important thing, I guess. And this is a pyramid where the gene is at the base level, and after that, the species level and the ecosystem level. Next, we have what we know as the biodiversity hotspots. It is very common topic. The students of BSc and MSc are studying this, that what are biodiversity hotspot. So basically, a biodiversity hotspot is a biogeographic region that is both a significant reservoir of biodiversity and is threatened with destruction. The concept was first introduced by Dr. Norman Myers in a paper published in the journal Nature. So, Nature, Elsevier, Science, these all are famous journals, Lancet, these are all the famous journals. So, this was published for the first time by Dr. Norman Myers in this Nature journal. The hotspot represent an opportunity to help to conserve the diversity of life on Earth, and it helps to keep the ecosystem intact. And to qualify as a biodiversity hotspot, Dr. Myers gave some criteria. So the 2000 edition of the hotspot map, a region must meet two strict criteria for being called as biodiversity hotspot. And the number one is One is that it must contain at least 0.5% or 1,500 species of vascular plants as the endemics, and it has to have a lost at least an area of 70% in its primary vegetation. So these are the important two criteria by which we can classify a place as a biodiversity hotspot. If we go into more detail, the criteria, it says that it must contain at least 1,000 species of vascular plants, as I was saying, and it has to have lost equal to or more than 70% of its original native habitat. And 36 such hotspots have been identified all over the world, and most of them are generally located in tropical areas. This site supports nearly 60% of the world's plant, bird, mammal, reptile, amphibian species, with a very high share of those species as endemics. And one such example, which everyone knows, is the Amazon rainforest. It is the what we can call as the lungs of the earth. The majority number of trees and rare species there are, maybe we don't know how much, many thousand of species would be still hiding in the Amazon rainforest and are yet to be discovered. Next, we have the biodiversity hotspot of India. So generally, India has four major diversity hotspots, that are the Western Ghats, the Eastern Himalayas, the Indo-Burma, and the Sundaland. So this is another important thing that would be asked for the entrance examinations and MSc preparation exams and other competitive exams. Students should know that this is a very basic thing: the Western Ghats, Eastern Himalaya, Indo-Burma, and the Sundaland. I am not going into much detail of this. You can find out from any good book.
Mr. Somnath, can I ask a thing that I found in the
Yes, sir.
I found in the Pathfinder books that the Himalayas, the first one is the Himalayas, the second one is the Northeast, third one is Western Ghat, and fourth one is Nicobar Island, which comes under Sunderland. So the four
Yes,
hotspots
sir.
which are written in the Pathfinder books is the Western Ghat, the Himalayas, the Northeast, and Nicobar Island. Actually,
Okay, yeah, okay, sir. You are also correct. Nicobar Islands is also currently, we can say that it is the biodiversity hotspot of India. But generally, Sundaland, what I found is that that region generally covers the part of the Indo-Malayan region. Means, see, I have written there that it includes the Nicobar group of islands, that is Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore.
yes, you are absolutely
Yes.
correct. You are absolutely
Yes, sir.
correct.
So basically, what we can say is that Sunderland means the actually what you were saying, that in the Pathfinder book, that Sunderland actually includes the Nicobar group of islands also. It is mentioned. I have mentioned here actually. Let me zoom it. Yes. So I think it's visible. So here it's written that it covers the western part of Indian Malayan region, which includes the Nicobar group of islands, obviously Andaman and Nicobars, and some parts of Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and this is the fact actually. Okay, sir. So is it visible?
Yes, it is
Hello.
visible. Yeah, it is correct. It is
Yes,
correct,
yes.
no doubt.
Okay, okay, sir. So next, what we have is the Eastern Himalayas and the Western Ghats. So these are the very two popular biodiversity hotspots in India. And in the Eastern Himalayas is the region that constitute the Bhutan, northeastern India, southern, central, and eastern Nepal part. And the Himalayan hotspot has nearly 163 globally threatened species, including the one-horned rhinoceros, which is commonly found in Kaziranga. The students must have heard that it is found in Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary. And then we have the wild Asian water buffalo. And in all 45 mammals, 50 birds, 17 reptiles, and 12 amphibians, and 3 invertebrates, and 36 plant species are threatened species in the Himalayan region. And there, the we find some the Relicid dragonfly. It is also an endangered species there, and the other species. And next, talking about the region is also home to the Himalayan newt, that is the only salamander species found in India. So we can understand the type of impact and the importance of the Eastern Himalayas. And in the Western Ghats, This everyone knows that the Western Ghats every year from Botanical Survey of India and Zoological Survey of India, they find the scientists, the scholars who are working there, they find every year at least 5 or 6 new species. And zone is one of the hotspot of Indian Great Natural Reservoir, which extends from Kanyakumari in south to the hills of Tapti River in north. And this zone shows exceptionally rich biodiversity, and it has 4,000 species of higher plants, and there are about 1,800 endemic species. And out of 29 species, the Dipterocarpaceae present in India, 13 that are found in this region, and there are 62 mammal genera. And these are some other information like the what are found there, the primates, the rodents, the carnivores like Malabar civet, and it also has a large population of tiger, leopard, sloth, bear, Indian elephant, and gore. Coming to the next slide, we have that what are the benefits of biodiversity. Okay, so talking about the benefits of biodiversity, it gives us food security, which in turn helps to feed our population. As the population of our country is huge, so the better we conserve biodiversity, so the better. And the medicine, every extinct species lost means a loss in research or breakthrough in science. So every species that is going extinct or that has uh, is endangered or critically lost is means that we have less opportunity in research. We can't do research on that, suppose a particular medicinal plant or animal.
You are mute, Mr. Somnath. Kindly unmute yourself.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, now is it audible?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So as I was saying that the research motivation and generation of ideas in young minds like the BSc and MSc students, so they should be more dedicated and interested in research when they see the biodiversity around them. And another is the stable ecosystem. The water cycle I have taken example can provide protection from flood, drought, and other natural calamities. So we need to have a stable ecosystem. And then there is nutrient recycling and proper cycling of nutrients, and like the carbon cycle, phosphorus, nitrogen cycle. These all, if proper cycling is maintained, the soil fertility can be maintained, which in turn is a major, I would say, factor in giving the prevention from natural calamities. And the essential role of keystone species, we know that keystone species are the species like the tiger and the deer example, that in a forest, if the number of deer suddenly increase or number of tigers suddenly increase, so it would be a huge impact on the ecosystem and the entire ecosystem would crumble down. So the essential role of keystone species is that keeps the balance in nature intact. The tigers, the deers, the frog, snake, everything is essential in our biodiversity ecosystem. Then there are aesthetic benefits like biophilia. So biophilia basically refers to human love and attachment towards plants, animals, and nature. And then there is finally economic benefit, that is due to this biodiversity hotspot, we have many tourist people from outside regions who come to visit India and see the natural beauty. So we have an economic benefit where there is generation of income and employment. Many people actually get the employment in tourism industry and that sector through the help of biodiversity. Okay, then there is what are the threats to biodiversity. So this we can classify as HIPPO, hippo. So hippo basically refers to habitat destruction. So human is destroying the habitat of natural organism and natural species. They are encroaching their lands, building dams for their own benefit, and flats and other houses. They are encroaching the land where animals used to live. So this is basically a kind of habitat destruction. Then there is invasive or introduced species like the species there, the plants that are coming from foreign like Parthenium and Icornia. They have a devastating effect on the environment later on, because they start to grow in such a number that is, at a time it is not possible for the people to tackle with those species. And generally they don't die out also because they have very strong root ecosystem and they are very tolerant to the Indian climate. So you would find generally if you go outside your home to the fields that the fields are generally filled with parthenium grasses and the other plants like lantana camera and many other plants are there. And in the water habitats you would find icornia, that is water hyacinth. Then we have the population growth. So population growth, India is a huge place where there is population growth rapidly. We have a huge population. So this population growth is also a major threat to the biodiversity. And next is pollution with the
Mr.
increasing
Somnath,
air
only
pollution,
1 or 2 minutes.
water pollution.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Somnath, 1 or 2 minutes left.
Hello. Yes, sir.
1 or 2 minutes.
Okay.
You have
Yes.
more
Yes.
than 2 minutes. You have only
Okay.
2 minutes left. Okay, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir. So these are the some of the Biodiversity Act that was implemented. I am not going into much details. So and next we have biodiversity and human health. So as you can see that biodiversity is the basic level with which all the biodiversity and human health is linked. And this is a very important thing and interesting that I got from WWF, that the pandemics and epidemics like the coronavirus. So we need to stop deforestation and species collecting and trafficking, animal marketing, which increase the risk of zoonosis. So the transmission of the virus from animals to humans. And this says that forest is our best antivirus. And in an intact forest ecosystem, the virus are in balance with the environment. And when we are encroaching the lands, it is the virus is spreading to different species and causing this kind of pandemics and epidemics. And another interesting thing that is a poster that it which says that will you bear the responsibility. So as we are humans and we are biological students of botany, zoology and life science discipline, we need to bear the responsibility of protecting the environment and keeping the biodiversity intact. And this says that nature positive by 2030 is not actually 100% okay but sure and confirmed, but at least we could try to solve the problems like deforestation and the water loss. We could save as much water we can and use less electricity, and then only solutions will come and we will get the benefits like the water, food, diversity of life, sustainable climate and ecosystem. So thank you. With this, I come to the end of the lecture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Somnath. And it was a very informative lecture, undoubtedly. As we all know that the biodiversity is actually a method of concern for everyone in this world, including the India, including the students, including the teachers. And you have described wonderfully about every aspect of the biodiversity, including the hotspots, including the criteria of the hotspots, including everything. And the more important thing is that the various species have been extinct, and in the last 500 years we have the more than 1,000 species have been lost from this world. So this is a
Yes,
very
sir. In 2020, according to the reports of Botanical and Zoological Survey of India,
okay.
36 species are extinct in 2020.
That's very good data for the students even. And this was a wonderful lecture. I'm very much thankful to you on behalf of my lecture, on behalf of my college, on behalf of my students, and on behalf of my good self. I'm thankful to you that you have accepted our invitation. For however, it was a very short period. In the last night, I asked you to deliver a lecture, and you said that okay, I'm ready. So thank you very much for accepting the invitation. My good wishes are with you for your future endeavors, for your future examinations. I do hope that you will certainly going to qualify the CSIR net examination, and then we will again uh, conduct a meeting from your side to how to prepare for the CSIR net examination. So my best wishes with you. Thank you very much. Students, if you have any question, to Mr. Somnath? I think there is no question. Everything is much clear for them. So thank you very much. Thank you so much. You can now, you all can now
Thank you.
leave. You all can now leave the meeting. Thank you.